Hi friends, Nick here from Technology Lowdown. Today we're looking at PlaySMS, which is a utility that you can install within Linux that will allow you to interact with, say, a USB modem, a bit like this one here that I've got. And basically the utility, PlaySMS, will interact with SMS Server Tools, which is a package which is available for Ubuntu, Debian, and I believe it's on CentOS as well. You can get it on there. This guide today will be following how we can set it up on Ubuntu 22.04, the latest OS that Ubuntu has for there. Now, if we jump on over to the website, we can have a look at how it's all kind of set up here. I'm working from two laptops here and not from my usual location. So let's just jump on here. So SMS Server Tools, this is the package that we're looking at. This is the core pretty much of PlaySMS and how we will be using it in today's environment. If we jump on over to playsms.org, this is the actual utility that we're using here. It is basically a web interface allowing you to manage the SIM card that's inside this USB, allowing you to send out, receive SMSs, or forward. You can set up auto replies, have SMS subscription lists. You can have all sorts of things there. If we just go back to the screen here, we can see that there's some documentation here, and the website is it's not updated the best that it could be, because 1.4.5 is actually the latest version, and you'll find that if you were to go to the GitHub page. So if we go to the GitHub page, we'll find that under the release tags over here, 1.4. Whoa, we're on the Docker one, that's why. So if we go to the PlaySMS here, we will find that 1.4.5 is the most recent version, 1.4.5, and that's from September last year. So it's not the oldest, and it does still seem to get updates. The forum is very active for this package still, so that is a good thing. So I dare say it's probably not going anywhere yet. There are a few things that you will need to get this one to work. You will need to make sure you've got a USB modem, but you need to check with it that you can actually see the COM ports on it. A lot of the modems today, when you plug them in, they will show a web page, which doesn't give you direct access to it. It's instead running an application on top of it that's blocking you the access to the USB modem itself. This one is an older one. It's a 3G one, so don't buy a 3G one. 3G is getting switched off in Australia pretty soon in the next couple of years. But if you get a 4G one that allows direct access to the COM ports, then that will work for you as well. Well, I've talked enough. Let's get into the setup on Ubuntu 22. On Raspberry and Lite, because I'm installing this on a Raspberry Pi, but I've also done this on Ubuntu 22.04, and the setup process is exactly the same. Just run through the commands and it will work for you. Alright, let's get straight into it. Alright, so I've already downloaded the Raspberry Pi OS, so I'm just going to open up my disks application here within Pop OS, and let's load up our USB, or our SD card, that is. There's my SD card. We will select what we need. Format disk. Oh, sorry, restore disk image. Here we go. Actually, why don't we use Imager? We'll use the Raspberry Pi Imager. Alright, so we'll choose the operating system. I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to grab the file that I need for today, which is on my vent or USB, and it is the Raspberry Lite ARM64. So that's the it's the one that doesn't have the interface on it. So it should be nice and fast for what we need. On a Raspberry Pi 3B, that's what I'm installing it on here today. I'll select generic. Now, the beauty behind using this one, which is why I thought I might jump over to this, is I can select everything we need and tell it its account. That shouldn't take long at all. That's only got a couple hundred meg to create there, so that should be alright. So I should say that there is actually a setup guide here. So if we go to how-to here. We'll see that there's one for Docker. I'm not sure how Docker would work with if you're using the USB modem, because PlaySMS can hook into other services. Um, but because we're using hardware, and I'm not that familiar with Docker for hardware interaction, I'm not going to touch that one today. But look, there's setup guides here for VirtualBox and Ubuntu. So this is the guide which I originally started following, but I found that you really had to read into it and know what you were doing to get it installed. And there's that much feedback in the forums here. If we go to the forum, there's that many users that are saying that they have problems installing it. So thought I might do this video so that you can see how it's done and how you can get it working with your USB modem. So we will be following bits and pieces from this Ubuntu setup guide for PlaySMS, but we will be pretty much following my notes, which I've got all here. So I've already set it up on a laptop, and I've documented how I set it up on a Raspberry Pi as well. So we should be in a pretty good situation to get this all done pretty shortly. I'll make some of my notes available here, so it should be a bit easier for you as well. That's almost done. You know what, let's cancel verify. We don't need that one. That's alright. Alright, so that one is written. Let's just get that one inserted into the Raspberry Pi. Alright, so that one's plugged into the Raspberry Pi. I've got it directly connected by an Ethernet cable for that one. And I'm pretty sure I know the IP address it'll come up with because I've been using it over the last couple of days here. Let's just see if it wakes up. I'm just looking at the light at the moment on it. I should say also, you can plug the USB in at this point. It doesn't really affect anything during the installation process. Alright, so I've got my USB plugged in, Ethernet's plugged in, I can ping it, so we should be able to just SSH into it. Let's clear the screen there. SSH, and it's pi at 192.168.10.173. And because I've done this a few times before, we'll just delete that old key. Alright, so we're logged in, awesome. Alright, now we should probably set up maybe one or two things first just before we do this. Let's just we do sudo nano etc host because I would like to make sure I can access it from this computer. So we'll just do that. So what I've done is I've created a entry in here called sms.domain.org, and I'm putting that to the Raspberry Pi, and that'll be what I'll use for setting it up in this case. So when we come to setting up the virtual host for Apache, we'll use sms.domain.org for today. I'll just get back to that SSH connection. Alright, so we're back in. So with the latest versions of Raspberry Pi and Ubuntu as well, we need to add in the source for PHP 7, otherwise we can't do it. So I've got the command right here. So sudo, this guide took me a number of hours to get done because I had to find all the sources that I needed to get it all set up. So after we do this, I'll show you what this has done. It's basically just created an entry in apt so that it will find PHP 7.4, which is the highest version supported by PlaySMS. It doesn't support PHP 8 as of yet. Alright, so that one is done. Now we will just grab, so I've got that USB plugged in. Let's have a look and see if we can see that USB. So how we can do that is with dmessage. So if we go sudo dmessage and we use grep, we want to grep tty USB, and we'll see here we've got 3 ports available. In most cases the USB modem should be tty USB 0. For the most part, I find that the Huawei USBs are the way to go. And yeah, this is a Huawei one that I'm using, and I've got another one, and it also supports this function. But do your research in knowing which one to get. Alright, so that one is good to go. Now there is a way to interact directly with the USB as well. You can pretty much open up Minicom, which is a terminal utility to access your COM ports, but we don't need to do that in this case. Alright, so SMS tools, we're installing that one. We've got software properties common, app transport, HTTPS. We've got CURL, which is already there, SMS tools. We will also copy off these ones here as well. I will provide notes for what you need to get this installed, so don't worry about having to look on the screen here. Sudo, copy and paste just failed me then. Let's just do this again. Alright, so this is what we're installing. We're installing PHP, MariaDB, which is MySQL, Unzip. So there's a fair chunk of stuff here. Looks like it has about 200 meg to download there. That'll take a number of minutes. While that's going, what we can do is we can follow along and do some more of the setup process. So they recommend that you install PlaySMS under its own user account. So that's what we're going to do here today. So we'll SSH back into the Pi. I'm just in a new tab here. And I'm connecting there. Alright, so we need to add a user. So we'll add sudo add user. The user we're using is Komodo. That's the one that they use in the guide. It doesn't really matter. You can use any username, such as say PlaySMS. You could use that one, or you could use your own name. It's up to you. So that one is in there. We're using Komodo for today, though. So now we need to add it to a couple of groups. So sudo, I'll add Komodo to that group. There are a couple of other groups we will need to add Komodo to later, but we can come back to that. PHP is still setting up there, just in the other tab there. Now we will need to install the Ubuntu firewall as well. That doesn't come with Raspberry Pi, so we'll do that next. We could see if we can add Komodo to a couple of other groups. Not available yet. We could try www.data is there, so I'll add him to the Komodo to the www.data group. And do we have the SMS tools group yet? We do. Alright, and we'll add Komodo to there as well. Alright, so now Komodo is in all the groups that it needs to be, so that should be okay. The reason we need to do that is because we're giving Apache access to the directories that SMS Tools is using to send and receive the incoming SMSs. So there's a bit at play here that we're working on at the moment. So the setup guide, or the setup process here for installing all these applications is almost done. And there's really not many changes that we need to do to get it to work. Now there is something else we need to do. We need to do dbkg reconfigure, and it's tz data because the time zone is wrong. So let's just run that as sudo, and just select the country you're in, and this will set the time. So 6:22, that's right for me. Now there's another place we need to do this as well. We need to update PHP, sudo nano etc PHP 7.4 CLI, and there should be a PHP ini file in here. Once we get into here, do a search for time zone, and we'll just uncomment this line here. In Australia, it's Australia/Brisbane. Just changes to what you need. You can usually find it just on the PHP page as it says there. Yeah, it's just php.net/state.timezone. That'll tell you how you can set that one up. Alright, so we got a time set, so that's good. That means that when we get our server set up, it'll be sending and receiving SMSs displaying the correct time. And that installation is done there as well. So let's install the Ubuntu uncomplicated firewall. So apt get install UFW. This should only take a few minutes. Should be pretty quick. Alright, so that one's done. Now we just need to add in a couple of rules here before we enable it. I'll allow SSH. I'll do sudo UFW allow HTTP for our web server, and we will arrow up and allow HTTPS as well. Now we can enable UFW. Enable. Yes. Alright, so that one is active. Yep, it's active and it's allowing those ports. So that's good. Alright, so we can also check on our services. So we just need to make sure that MariaDB service is running and that it's actually enabled so it will start up on startup. So let's just do that now. That's started, and we'll just change this one to enable. That's enabling it. Alright, so do Apache now as well. Apache as well here. Alright, so let's switch to the Komodo user now. So sudo su Komodo, and we'll start to set up our layout for the web server. Once we switch user, we'll just need to change to the home directory, so that's tilde and then /. We're in there now. We'll make the public HTML directory, and we will make log. Now we will add to the change mod as well. 775 is the permission for it, allowing group access as well as the user access. Public HTML and log. And we'll do recursive as well there too. Put in your password for sudo. Now we'll just change the owner of that group of home Komodo to Komodo, and we will change Komodo log as well. We'll allow www data access. Now if we go LSL here, we will see that www data has access to log and Komodo has access to public HTML. So let's create our virtual host file now. So to do that, it's sudo nano etc apache2 and sites available. And we will call this one sms.domain.org, as I referred to in the earlier part of this video, .conf. Alright, so this is our configuration file that we need. I'll just open up my example here. I've got a file here just on the desktop. And we'll paste all this in. Should be all we need. We'll just disable that as well, because we need to re-enable it with the proper config. We'll disable that, and we'll do sudo a2en site sms.domain.org.conf. Then we can do sudo systemctl reload apache 2 service, and we should be running now. So if I do status, we should find it's active and running, so that's good. And if we were to connect to that one as well, 10.173, we should find that it will load up for us as well. 10.173, we've got the Apache directory there. So that is right. Alright, so we're getting there with our configuration here. We've set up our Apache virtual host. Now we will go into public HTML. We'll just check that that's working. Sudo home, Komodo, public HTML. And we'll just make a directory in here, a file called test.php. We'll put some PHP code in here, echo, this is a test, and put that one down there as well. Just to make it look a bit prettier and know that it's formatting. We can put strong in here, put bold on there. That one's done. If we refresh our directory here, we should see we've got a test file. Load that one up, and PHP is outputting that as an echo. So that's good. We can remove test.php now. That's all we need from there. We just wanted to make sure that was working. Alright, so I need to make a couple of directories here. So let's just cd up one level to our home directory. We'll make bin, etc, lib, and source. This is pretty much taken from how the Ubuntu 18.04 guide is, but I've read into it so I can understand which user account you need to be while you're doing all this. So we're creating a file now. I'll give you all these commands, so no need to worry there if I'm going through this too fast for you as well. Now we're changing the ownership of that log file, or the log folder. That's good. Now we will create the user for PlaySMS, which is going to be the PlaySMS, the database, sorry. Alright, so let's add in our settings here. Sudo mysql. Now we need to set a password for this one. In this case, I'm just going to use a demo password here. This is only going to be set up for about an hour or so. That one's there. Granting privileges to the PlaySMS user. Flush the privileges. And then we shall exit. So that's our SQL database setup. Now we need to pretty much pull in the actual the project from GitHub. So if we were to jump on over to this 18.04 guide, we're soaring through here. We've installed the Ubuntu firewall, we got MySQL going, the web server's installed. This does show you how to set up HTTPS, which I'm not doing because I'm using this behind a reverse proxy in production anyhow, and it's just on my local network where I'm testing this particular install. But you could certainly do that if you wanted to. I don't use certbot at this time either. What else have we got? We got install PlaySMS. So we've got, let's just double check. We've got this directory structure here. CD up one level, ls. So we've got bin, etc. We've got log. We've got lib, and we've got source. So that's all there. That's good. We could do a PHP check on the modules. I'll show everything that we've got installed. We've created our user for SQL there. So yeah, this git clone command here, if you were to just follow this blindly, you would find that you're only installing 1.4.3. But we don't want that in this case. We need 1.4.5. And look, actually, we need to install git. So we'll just do apt get install git. And that'll allow us to pull it from GitHub. We'll just get our command going here. 1.4.5. We'll get rid of this depth 1. PlaySMS. So git is installing there. Alright, so git's installed there. We can now clone our repository from the PlaySMS site, and this b tag is basically just saying to pull the files tagged with 1.4.5. So that's what we're doing there. It doesn't take long to pull down at all. Alright, so if we do ls, we see that's created the PlaySMS directory, so let's cd into there. Now, if you're setting this up, you'd want to make sure you copy the install.conf.distribution to, say, install.conf.distribution.back, and then we can do sudo move install.conf.dist to install.conf. Now let's edit this file, nano install.conf. Alright, we'll set our details in here. So we've got the user, we got the password, which is going to be password 0, and we've got our user accounts there, that's fine. Path to web, we will make this one just public HTML, so it's the root directory of our web server. We've got lib, PlaySMS there, that's right. The bin directory is there, log is there. Etsy will fix this one up. So for Etsy, it's home/Komodo/Etsy. And that should be it. Now to get it installed, really simple, we just need to do dot and then /, and it is install PlaySMS.sh. Now you don't want to run this as sudo. It actually says not to run it as sudo when you do it. It won't let you. Confirm that your paths are correct here, which they should be, and then we can just do yes, and that will start installing it. Need to do this a few times. Alright, so this doesn't take that long to install as long as you've done it all right, this part of the setup process. So the guide doesn't go into detail of how you set up PlaySMS as a service, because if we scroll up here, that's what we see here. PlaySMSD, it's a daemon, it's running at the moment, but if you were to restart, it wouldn't actually start on startup. So we need to set up the utility for this one to work. So we can do that using systemd. So we will do that in just a moment. For the moment, we're going to cd a directory here into Etsy. So we're in Etsy, and we need to copy this one, PlaySMSD. We need to copy that one into the bin directory. Go back here, lscd into bin. We'll see we've got 2 files there. That's good. The reason we need that one there is because PlaySMSD, it needs that file to know what it's doing. Run status, we'll see it's running. For the moment though, we're going to stop it. We're not really doing anything with it at the moment anyway. Do status, not running. So let's create our systemd service here. So it is sudo nano etc systemd system playsms.service. You can pretty much copy and paste this daemon that I've got set up right here. That one's there. Do a daemon reload. Enable PlaySMS. Restart PlaySMS. Re-enable it again. Then we could say do status. We should see it's all running, so that's good. And to verify that as well, we could also do PlaySMSD here, and we'll do status, and that's running too. So that is good. So if we load up this one, we could actually log into PlaySMS because it's fully functional even since the last step. Default password is admin, and yeah, we're logged in here. If we go to say view log, nothing in there at the moment. Nothing there either. But look, what we might actually do is we'll just cd up level, cd into public HTML, and we will go nano config.php, and in here we can update our log level, and this just give us some diagnostic information. You probably want to set this one back to 2 once you go in production, otherwise you will find it will start generating lots of logs there for you. Alright, so we've got the right time here against our log file, 6:45. So that means when we set our time zone, we did that correctly. So that's good. And I'll just show you also in here, if you are setting up HTTPS, even behind a reverse proxy, you will need to enable this one here. And that'll just make sure that all the URLs that PlaySMS generates are HTTPS. Alright, if we go back to our setup guide here, we've got our service running. PlaySMS is going. Now we will do SMSD, or SMS tools as it is. So we'll just do a cat etc SMSD, so that's all there, that file's there, but we need to update it to be what we need it to be. Alright, so I've got my configuration file now, copied to the clipboard. We'll update SMSD. Now look, if you're doing this, you can probably go sudo copy etc.smsd.conf to etc.smsd.conf.back if you want to make sure you got a copy of that one. But for the most part, you really don't need it. So let's we'll do sudo service stop SMS tools, and we'll stop it so we have no complaints. Sudo nano etc SMS. Remove it. Sudo rm etc smsd.conf, sudo nano etc smsd.conf, and we will paste in our configuration. So it's pretty self-explanatory, this file, but what we're doing is we're creating a GSM modem for that USB. We're specifying all the folders that we're working with for SMSD. It's pretty easy how it works. It just uses files. GSM1 is the queue. And here's our device. Incoming, so that means it'll allow incoming messages. And the queue is GSM1. Default queue, GSM1 as well. So that should work for us there. Now we will cd into var spool, and in here we've got the SMS directory. So we need to create a couple of things here. So we'll cd into SMS, make dir GSM1. That's that one we're referring to in our configuration file. And SMS Tools is pretty good at telling you what's actually going on. So why don't we enable it? SMS Tools start, because there's a log file which gives you a lot of information. So we'll do tail here, and we'll do var log SMS and smsd.log, and we can see that queue directory is not writable. Alright, so it gives you lots of hints. So if you have any problems with SMS Tools, just check that log file, alright? So we're here at the moment, ls lthra. We'll do sudo change own to smsd on GSM1, and we'll do that recursively. And we'll just go restart for SMS Tools. And if we check our log file again, no complaints there. And you can see it's initializing that modem. And yeah, it's able to check, and it's realized that there's no SMS received. So that's good. That means that SMS Tools is interacting fine with that modem. So we could, if we wanted to, we could go in a CD. This is how it works. If we CD in a GSM1, I'll create a text file in here. I'll blur out the screen here because I'm actually going to be sending it to a phone number here. So we could put this as a message, and you'll put it on the new line just down. That's how you can test that your USBs work. So we need to do that sudo nano test. Put in 2. This is a test message. Alright, so that one's there. If we do ls, we'll see that there's a log file that's being created. That's because it's being interacted with at the moment. And now it's gone. If I was to get my phone, so that message has just come through. It says this is a test message. So that works. Alright, so that's pretty easy in terms of how that works. That means SMS Tools is working, which means PlaySMS should in theory work, but we've got a few more things we need to do. Mainly, we need to add www.data here so it has permission to the directories that it needs. So let's do that now. Sudo change mod 777 to var spool SMS. We'll do recursive for that one as well. And we need to set these permissions. So www.data is the owner and smsd is the group. So we can do that one as well. Sudo change own www.data smsd var spool SMS, and we'll do that recursively as well. ls lthra, that's change cd into SMS. Now I found I had to open these permissions way up, otherwise it was having problems. You could perhaps harden it, but this is working for me. So that's all enabled. And look, we could probably actually test this one now by sending an SMS here. So let's have a look. It's going to reply back to that message I got. Test. So I've replied back. And then if we go to all inbox, nothing there yet. Sandbox, nothing there. Alright, so we need to configure our gateway for PlaySMS. This is pretty much the first thing you need to do once you come in here. So we need to scroll down to SMS Tools, which we are right here. You don't need to click on the folder. We're just showing you this how it works. So var spool SMS. So using that one there. If we go to into SMS Tools, this will add in a new entry for this gateway. So it's var spool SMS and GSM1, all lowercase. So that's been added. Now we go to main configuration, and what we're doing here is we're setting up the default SMS service center. We'll configure the time zone here as well. There's a lot of other configurations here you can do. A lot of it's not really relevant to us because as I'm just using a standard SMS, you can't actually spoof a number as you send because you're locked away to the provider that's providing you the service. So if we go into inbox, nothing in there, but if we go to sandbox, to catch all, and look, it's caught that message that I just sent a few minutes ago. So that means it's interacting with that SMS tools directory. In fact, if we CD'd into, I think, is it backup and incoming, you can see we've got that GSM on there. That's where PlaySMS has put its file where it has been sent. If I go to compose message now, we can send a message. I'll blur the screen out for this point, of course, and look, it has templates, so that's pretty nice there as well. Let's send this message, and look, because we got the time set, we could actually specify what time we want to send that one to, and it will send that at that time we specify. That one is sending. Once we send that, we could go to the SMS queue, and if you had many messages, it would be queued here. In this case, there's none there. That's all right, because it's already sent. There's my phone, it's just buzzed, and it says, hello, please hurry up, boss summons us. So that one's come through, PlaySMS is set up. Let's just do a final reboot. It's our only reboot we've done, actually. And we'll just make sure that comes back up. But as you can see, once you've got your commands down pat, it's pretty easy to get set up. And you just need to find the USB modem that works. I know I had one originally. It was an Optus Huawei E3372 USB modem, and that one is in a mode called, I think it's high mode, and it basically just opens up the web page, which will not work with what we're doing here. Alright, so that's loaded back up. Let me just send another SMS inbound here as well. Let's go to test to make sure that that's receiving it. And we go to sandbox. We should get another message in here in just a moment. Yep, there's our message, 656. And let's just reply to this one here. Send a message, should hear a beep in a minute. Oh, a noise. So that one's come in. That's great. Alright, so that's working. So that's PlaySMS for you. I hope this video has helped you if you are setting it up. Now again, I did install this on a Raspberry Pi, but the setup procedure, especially if you're using Ubuntu or Debian, it's pretty much the same procedure, except on Debian you'll probably need to install sudo on that because it doesn't come with that. Other than that, the setup is pretty easy to do here once you know how to do it. And look, you could actually plug in multiple USB modems to your PlaySMS configuration here. You would need to edit that etc SMSD config file, and then you can add multiple gateways for PlaySMS to use. But look, PlaySMS has lots of useful features, and if you are thinking about using it, it's not too bad. You can do SMS forwarding, and there's other configurations such as SMS to email. I haven't been able to work that out yet, but there's the forum you can go to, and you might be able to get some help there. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you've liked this video, if it's been useful, please like it or give it the thumbs up for us, or share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again in another video at some point. Thanks.